this feeling anytime you choose.
This is the TheNOCRoom. This is the very first podcast slash interview slash hangout slash your midnight walk listen to thing. So we're trying something new today. I don't know. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But yeah, basically it's gonna be a little show where we hang out, we drink coffee, we have our microphone here, and we just BS, and just talk about stuff. Have like opinions and different topics and just elaborate on views and stuff. Tell me about yourself. If I pretend I'm not your brother.
Okay.
Which is easy to do. Probably a fantasy of yours for a while now.
Please, God, let this be written. I live in New York, Queens, and I'm an aspiring actor. I would like to say I'm a working actor, but I'm still, getting the work as it comes and still, grinding like every other artist out there in New York, trying to make it, and had my success and have been having my downfalls and having all those life experiences. So yeah, that's like where I'm at now.
Well, and I don't. All right, here's the thing, right? Like, you're saying I'm an aspiring actor. I'm a this. I'm a that. Like, dude. If you're out there and you're working on set and especially me, I've seen firsthand the things you've accomplished. You're an actor. There are so many people. I feel like it's almost like a form of self-deprecation in a way that like when someone who works as hard as like you do, and there are plenty of people out there that whether you're an artist or like an actor or a singer, they have to establish themselves as that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stop you right there and just you are an actor. That's it.
Absolutely.
I think that comes from not so much a self-deprecation place, but I think because you are very humble as a person, I realize that you are you're very hard on yourself as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that. I guess in a humble way of speaking. And I guess it's like crazy. I could have so many like, hey, I was on this show, or I made it, I got this gig, and it's pretty awesome. Everyone's like, wow, you should be like really like, well, you're on fire, and then you're just always trying to get the next thing and always trying to do better and always, like you said, you're extra hard on yourself. And you're so used to people just like, what are you like, what have I seen you on, or like are you a big actor, or you, like no, like I was reading this book with I think I mentioned to you once, with Alec Baldwin.
Okay.
And it's like a memoir book.
What do you know the name of it?
Hold on a sec. Nevertheless.
I really like that sexy grunt you just made.
I was on the. It was the week I got my first gig from my manager, and I was like super excited. And I was working on this show. I was super excited, and on set I wanted to like keep my head busy, and I was reading Nevertheless. I bought it from Barnes and Nobles. And it was an Alec Baldwin memoir, and he had this really good thing. His first gig was this small show on doctors, and it was like a very like all my children kind of show, or like something like really like not huge, but it was a working gig on TV. And he was grateful for it, but he decided to make a move to Los Angeles, and he was walking out, and the guy said, no, I want to renew you for the next season, and blah blah blah. And he said, no, I kind of I want to move out and go to LA. And the guy mocked him and said, like, what are you gonna be, a big time actor? You can be a big actor? And he turned around and said, no, maybe just a small one or whatever. But of course now he's like the hugest actor ever. Hugest. Wow. What I mean is it's such a like this vision of like other people, like of the art itself, like oh, you're not a big actor unless you're working on this, or like, oh, I don't know. They just
Well, that's because a lot of people, I think, they judge other people based on what's tangible, right in front of them. So, like, if you're a fireman or a police officer, you have a tangible uniform on. Like, you can see this person. Oh,
right.
this
Why
is
the
where the
police?
credibility lies at face value.
This guy's badge is right there.
These other people that help inspire and motivate and keep morale up. I feel like that's where the place of the artist, I won't just say actor,
Yeah.
but the artist itself, whether it's a painting, it's a song,
Right.
or, you know, what do we do every time we go to the gym to get hyped up? We listen to something,
Music,
you know? It's, music can hit a whole array of emotions. We oftentimes associate movies with everything. Media takes such a big place in society. It's one of like I would say one of the trademarks of American culture. You don't get enough credibility in theater and acting and all that stuff just because it doesn't seem like a real job to them.
Right.
It seems like, oh, you don't go to an office, you don't make that kind of money, you don't go out and, you know, bag criminals, or you don't save lives or anything like that. You know what? Actually, you do save lives.
Yeah, I was
with
just gonna say that.
Yeah.
A lot of movies, a lot of like, well, music. I love music, and always has a big impact on me. But movies in general, my love for film and my love for acting, it actually saved my life, too. Because like there are times when you just feel like crap, and you're just like you're going through something, and you watch something, and you're like, I needed that uplift for today, you know, or like, you know, you've been on like a 2-month streak of like not going to the gym or not, you know, letting yourself go a little bit, and you're depressed, and then you go and watch like Creed 2, and you're just like, the training montage, the story, like I had to get my ass to the gym, and like, or anything, like anything emotional, or like just saying like, hey, you're not alone, and people bringing it.
I would go even deeper than to say Silver Linings Playbook is one of, like, that's the exact kind of movie that people could connect with. It's on a subject that is not really understood by certain people,
Right.
which is mental illness.
Right.
And for a lot of people, they feel alone, and they don't understand like if other people will get it.
Yeah.
You know, and they kind of, that's how it gets worse. Depression, you know, and that's got other things. We're talking about, you know, people who feel they have to be a certain way for others on the outside, and then when they get to their place of solitude, that's when everything hits them.
Yeah.
And in that place of solitude, you can watch that movie, you can listen to that song. But like Silver Linings Playbook, it was such a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, it was a very raw movie, and it just
yeah.
I thought that was those were great performances by both actors.
It's a coping mechanism for a lot of people.
And people see that they're not alone in it.
Yeah, and it depends on how the actor delivers that, how the sound technician puts in the themes of the movie, how the cinematography is done.
Oh yeah, that all comes into play.
Yeah, but it's funny, like, because the subject at hand is that people don't consider those real jobs until you're the cinemas on a big screen. Then it's like, oh yeah,
steady show on Stars Network or Netflix.
It's one extreme to another. Yeah,
I've seen you. Yeah, it's it's incredible, and a lot of you got those big movies like Avengers and all these new things that are out now, and Detective Pikachu, and you know, around this time, movies that are out, and they're great commercial, exciting movies, and I for one am excited to see both those examples. But there's a lot of indie stuff that people do, and it's just incredible. Christian Bale, which is one of my favorite actors, has done a lot of indie films and even like international films, and I like when someone is an artist and is you know, they take on stuff that's not as glamorizing. It's more of like a tribute to the art and you know, yeah, like I said, to the art itself, and that's important.
Oh
That's,
yeah. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I just love film and in general work that that tells a story. My last year of high school, I took an acting like a drama class, and it was my teacher, and she was great. I was when I was in high school, when I was young, my late teens, I was really going through like an identity crisis. I was depressed. I was at a time where I was taking medication because I've had, I don't know, I've had issues with myself. Just thought either I wasn't like good looking, or I wasn't good enough or something, or I just had a total like I didn't know where I belonged, and yeah, just a lot of things. And during that time, I was just sitting in back classroom, and they were doing finals, and there was a monologue thing for the finals, and I saw them doing their monologues, and I wasn't up to go yet, so I was like one of the last to go for the finals, so I wasn't as prepared, and I didn't care as much. I probably wasn't gonna do it or fail. And but then I started to care when I started listening to these lines and some of the monologues. I felt like the words had to really be heard. Like I felt like, all right, look, I'm listening, you guys, but you know, there were some that were really good, but then there were some kids that weren't as good, and they weren't doing justice to it. It was bothering me, and I was like, I can do good. You know, these words need to be.
I can words.
Yeah, I can totally
Yeah.
words. And I felt like, you know, you have to do justice to these lines. This is a story. This is something important. And I said, I want to do this. So I came home, and then you know, my mom, she showed me this. I always loved Sidney Poitier, and I chose to do his monologue from Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah.
And later on, I realized I wasn't black, so I can't do that monologue professionally.
When did you realize that you weren't black?
That was in college when I took the monologue to
Oh
college.
yeah.
And it was like a showcase night, and I asked my teacher to do it, and then I did it, but the ending establishes that the character is black, African American.
Yeah.
And I that my professor came up to me and said, you know you're not black, right? And I said, yeah, I guess I'm not. I was so innocent in it, you know. I wasn't really thinking about this. I was just saying like Sidney Poitier was incredible, and the story was incredible. I just admired him so much, and like I guess the ending, I didn't really care what he said at the end. Like when his line was like, you know, you think of yourself as a colored man, I think of myself as a man. That was the last line, which are very powerful lines. Yeah, but when I did it in high school, I took that monologue on. I brought it out to the final. I had everyone like crying in the classroom, and my teacher was like, Nino, like you have to audition for the plays, and what have you been doing? And that's when it like bit me. You know, I was like, wow, that was incredible. It was empowering to me. Like I felt in control of something. And it felt good to be in control, because you get, you know, people, it's real. People have depression. And sometimes people need that outlet to say something, to just, and sometimes it's so funny because you'll get the people that you won't even expect it to come from.
Yeah.
And then like they get up, like they're theater people, they get up on stage and like, wow, but you're so like quiet and you're not, and then they get up and they're like, wow, but they have a lot going on. And I think it's sometimes a therapy session. It's sort of like let me dive into this role and let me disappear for a little bit, and like maybe I have something that I can relate with this character and get it out there so people can like hear me.
It's almost like interpreting.
Yeah, you're interpreting your feelings, and that's what I always got out of it, and I loved it. And it did help me to be a little more outgoing, more social. And therapeutically, it helped me. I remember after I discovered acting, that became my medication. Not against people that take medicine for depression, but
Wait,
for
so
me, I
you
gave up the medication
and went straight into acting.
and just went straight into acting. And
Wow.
and that's when I started jumping into theater classes and wanted more of it. Started doing showcases. Showcases led to being a little extra on stage, and to getting a lead role, to other theaters calling me, to joining the union in TV, and becoming SAG, and doing a few indie films, landing my first little TV show.
If you had to cite, like, what was the first play you ever did outside of school, professionally, for a venue?
First play. So I was at this amazing theater in Northport that you know of because you've been to it before.
Bare Bones.
Bare Bones Theater.
Yep.
You practiced in that class too. He's a great teacher, Jeff Bennett in Northport Bare Bones Theater. And he was in a perfect time in my life. I had a car accident. I won't get fully into that, but yeah, when I was 20 years old, as you know, you're my brother, but
Yeah.
to tell everyone out there, I had a car
They
accident.
don't know. Yeah.
At 20 years old, got T-boned or whatever it's called, and whole passenger side came in and messed me up for quite a few months. I had a shattered elbow, and I got screws in my elbow. I had nerve surgery. All this crazy stuff happened, and I was just feeling really mortal, and my depression and things started to kick in a little bit. I was taking pain medication, and then all of a sudden I was like, all right, I need to go in theater again. I need to act, because that was my healing process. I was like, all right, to heal mentally, to not be afraid anymore, I gotta find something. What I do, I Googled theaters near me and freaking Google or whatever, and
Firsthand experience seeing all that done, it must have drove you so much to want to act and get better and all that, because the nurses would talk to Ma and I, and they said that, like, they've never seen somebody recover as fast. I think the estimated recovery time was about a year for you to learn to walk again, because you were bed rested, and they took nerves out of your legs and put in your arm. And it was about 6 months, which was just incredible, and
yeah, it was pretty good. I was pretty lucky with that. I was driven to get better. I'm not sure if my head was set on acting when I was in the hospital recovering. I was focusing on getting better to continue. I knew I wanted to continue it. I know before the accident, I was doing my first little action film with my brother Jamal Johns, who is a director, and he was working on a film for his Bronx College thing, and it was pretty cool.
Festival. Yeah,
it was in a Kodak Film Festival in Manhattan, and it was cool. We were all kind of like fresh and like just going into it. So of course I had a lot to learn, but it was a fun project. And I remember just thinking in the recovery room, like, I wanted to see it. Like, I remember he came with the video, and they had a TV in the room, and I just wanted to see how the movie came out. Like, that was my worries. And I saw it. I was like, this is nice. And it was recovering to me, to like healing. Like, it was my happiness. I was like, I get to watch my movie, and that motivated me. Like, all right, I got to do more, and this can't be it. So I got to heal up and get better. Yep. And so that's what happened. But I did fall in a little depression, and I was like kind of feeling sorry for myself, and I was getting back problems and things like that. I did recover kind of pretty quick. I was left with some things that would be with me for life, but good thing during that time, previous to that accident, I was taking Okinawa traditional karate, which was a big part of my life, something I plan on continuing sometime soon. I stopped at brown belt right before black belt, and I was about to graduate. But things happen. That's what happens. A car runs into your life and tries to kill you right before something. So it's something to live through and get stronger by. but that definitely helped me. I was a fighter, so healing up helped me a lot. And just being home, and I searched Bare Bones Theater in Northport. Jeff Bennett took his class. We had there was I remember there was one exercise that he told us, like, you have to make us believe something, and we have to decide whether you're lying or telling the truth. So you're gonna say some sort of monologue, not really a monologue, but something about yourself, and they have to see if you're telling the truth, and you have to tell us the verdict. Were you telling the truth, or were you lying? And you know, I was talking about my life. I was talking about my background, where I came from. I talked about, you know, being adopted, my childhood, you know, my biological parents, and things that I went through and overcame. And it was legit, you know. Childhood was a little tough, and I remember them asking, like, and they said, "Is that really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I don't know, I was talking about just everything. It's like in my life, and it was like a therapeutic. And when I started talking about it, and they asked me, "Hey," and I said, "No, that was real." And they were like, "Wow." And it was just this moment of
very somber moment.
Yeah, it was a somber moment. And it was I guess relating to what I'm talking about, why that came up was because when you're going through something, other wounds open up. You know, when you're going through an accident, or you're going through a depression, and the other stuff that you got over opens up.
The stuff you keep in the back room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Pops up at the front door.
And I was like, oh shit. You know, it's like so it's like one obstacle to another, and then that last obstacle opened up other stuff, and I was able to talk about it. It was like therapeutic. And then after that, I was like, all right, I'm ready to tackle my first scene.
Yeah.
And he gave me my first scene, which was this war veteran from the play Homefront by James Duff. And I played Jeremy, this war veteran, and it was a scene in Thanksgiving, and he's not doing what his parents want, and then he gets into this whole outburst of what happened to him at the war, which was a very personal monologue for me. I connected with it a lot, and that was also a great showcase and a scene that I did in front of everybody. It was my first, like, theater work, like, being out there.
First. Wow.
And yeah, he was just talking about how he lost his friend, and his friend was missing an arm and a leg, and because his parents couldn't accept him, he committed suicide. And my character was, like, very upset about that, and explaining to his family that not dressing up for Thanksgiving was, like, such a big deal, when he's like, F that, you know, like, I've seen really bad stuff, and and this is what I'm going through. I couldn't care less what you're thinking, and I've been bottling so much in, like, I'm just freaking tell you right now what I'm feeling, you know. So I love that. And then I did another scene, Dog Sees God, where I played Charlie Brown, and he was gay, and it was awesome. That was a funny scene. So it was a great contrast. That I did, 2 scenes that I did, and
that takes some kind of talent to do, where it's like you can switch. I think that's a great training exercise too.
Yeah, to go emotional and like, then get funny, and
because you're switching emotions at just the spur of the moment, where you just did a very serious, dramatic monologue, and then you can pop back to a comedy.
Right.
And and really execute that well, which I've seen personally your work with the complete works of Shakespeare Abridged. I've seen you memorize a 3-man play, and memorize the other people's lines as well.
So I knew my lines.
I was right there helping you rehearse and stuff.
Yeah, I remember.
I know that for dramatic effect, you've done Dracula in the basement of a church, which is supposedly a tradition.
Yeah,
correct.
That was fun.
Bram Stoker's
Park. Yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
That was one of my.
I know there's another one you've done,
There was a romantic comedy, Maids of Honor, that I did.
Yes.
I played Joel. I was a lawyer, and a lot of showcases, small scenes, but full plays. Yeah, I did Dracula. I did Shakespeare Abridged.
And I feel like those things are important because a lot of people see acting, and they go into movies and stuff. That's the first thing they think of. All the actors that are whether they're extremely attractive or they just have a presence on camera,
Right.
or anything like that, or whether it's just the concept of the character, but they don't understand that there's indeed some kind of discipline behind it. That there are a lot of people that you see that break down on stage.
Yeah.
And it takes so much to do that, especially in a day and age where people are desensitized, and that's the regular. They don't know how to communicate. There are trouble with couples. There are trouble with family relationships between mother and son, or father and daughter, whatever it is. People need to talk, and they need to be themselves. And if there's the one thing that you can take away from any of that, is you have to be okay with whatever's going on in your life. And even if it's not okay, you have to, I guess, accept is the better term of putting it.
Yeah.
Once you accept the hand you're dealt, then you can appreciate the good things you have and evaluate the bad things that happen in your life.
Right.
You went through so much with your childhood, with your car accident, with everything that you had, but you had to accept who you were. You had to accept where your life was, and you were able to do that through acting.
Yeah.
And once you did that, you realized, oh, now I can execute it. Now I can do this not just for myself, but help interpret the character and interpret this piece of art for the people that need to hear it, for the words that are spoken from people, from writers that spent endless nights, on a piece of paper writing out a script from life experience, some of them.
Yeah.
That have gone through war, the losing the arm and the leg, the not being accepted by their own family. That happens so much more than people think.
Of course.
And when people treat each other a certain way in society and they don't consider what others are going through, that's not right.
Right.
You have to get it. You have to. I think that those people haven't reached that point. They haven't accepted the point they are in their lives.
Right.
And that's where the whole saying "misery loves company" goes.
Yeah.
It's a point of growing up, I think.
Yeah.
And once you're able to do that and accept circumstance, then you can grow as a person.
And make it through circumstance.
Yeah.
Like, I always felt the best acting lessons I ever got was life. And a lot of people say that. It's like, life happens to you, and because if you're like fresh out of like high school, like, oh, I did drama and I'm gonna be like an actor and I want to make it big, like whoever
and it's okay to have dreams.
Yeah, of course, but the
life
thing
experience.
The thing is, something as like acting is such a human thing. It's such like, I used to think like, all right, yeah, I understood some stuff, and I was a little bit talented when I started. I was all right. I had stuff to work with, but I just felt like once I understood life more and went through things, I was like, oh, that's what that feels like. Oh, now when I get a role, I know what I could connect that with, or I just understand like life is the best teacher, and it teaches you you go through things. You're like, yeah, I could definitely use that for later for another part, or or something like like that. I I recently did this film alone, and there was a scene when I had to get really emotional, and now having a son, because the scene
That's where the character
had
reflects.
something that he was he's accused of murdering his wife, and so he's in trouble with stuff, and so I had to feel experiencing of loss, and I started to relate to losing my son and having that, like having a son. Like I'm not saying, hey, actors, go out and make a son so you can relate to this, but it's amazing. Like you're an actual dad, and you're like, wow, I really feel what that's like. And they were like, all right, like cry and like feel like miserable for us and start now. Let's get tears. And it was a very vulnerable state. My first time crying on camera, actually. I don't think they know that. But
Wow.
I've cried on stage once. But it's tough to have, like, it's a very vulnerable position when you got a camera in front of you and they're like,
Yeah.
hey, let loose. And I was like, all right. So, and that's what I used. I used, like, oh, what if my son was screaming out to me, or, like, it was really sad stuff, and I was able to actually envision it. And that's what happens. Like, I feel like the best roles and the best stuff for actors is more of when they're, like, late 20s to early 40s. That's when you get the lead stuff. That's when, like, you're a man, and it's like, I've been through shit, and like, hey, this guy could be our lead detective in this new HBO drama because he's seen life a little bit. You can't be like 21, like you're gonna go to the Disney Channel, except for some other actors that are like young and they're doing very well.
Yeah.
It's. But what I'm saying is like,
I think
ideally,
yeah.
ideally, like the work is more fruitful when you're in that age range.
I suppose so. There are some people that have gone through a bit. It's a very debatable subject, but I do understand where you're talking about.
Right.
I think it's a level of maturity that
That
most
is
people
too.
have to reach.
And sometimes the life constructs them to be more mature, and some people are lucky,
Yeah,
or maybe unfortunate, to go through stuff very, very early,
and they're forced.
and they're
Forced to take responsibility.
So they have a different state. But my whole
Shindig.
learning, the way everything happened, that was my timeline, and I realized that I should have had a different mentality also when I was young. Like, granted, I was growing and I was taking the steps, but you just realize what's important, what's not important, and you're older and more mature, and you're like, geez, I could have tackled things a little better and understand more what the art and what everything's about.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain, but it's like you just think about the energy you wasted. Maybe you're in like college and like your peers, and you're like, oh, I'm not fitting in with them, or you're concentrating on the wrong things, and you're like, damn, but come on, be an actor, like really concentrate on what's important, yourself.
Yeah.
And people don't really understand that fully until later on it hits them, and they're like,
I think you could say that even about life. Just
oh, yeah,
just focus on like the
Without a doubt.
priorities that you have.
Right.
And once you establish yourself.
right, early. And that's
Yeah.
why, like, you get so many older people that are so filled with wisdom and stuff, and you gotta really like listen to them. Like, I remember people telling me when I was young certain things, like, just time goes by quick, and like, just these are the best days of your life, and they really are. So people need to, like, if you think you got it bad, yeah, maybe you do got it bad, but maybe you don't have it as bad as you think you do, and just sit back and find the beauty in life and try to take it easy and not be so hard on yourself.
And also understand that it gets better.
Yes.
It's not just the case of like it's bad and it's never going to get better, because that's how it never gets better.
Right, absolutely.
You have to think of ways to make it better,
Right.
because depending on your circumstance, you might have different obstacles to overcome.
Absolutely.
But the matter of the fact is, and this is the cold hard truth, is no one's going to live your life for you.
Mm-mm.
No one's going to keep doing things for you.
Yeah.
And if you've done a lot of things for yourself up to now, then this is, what you have to do.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do already. But it's a matter of taking responsibility. You know, there's a lot of even social anxiety. I feel is like a big thing. There's a lot of people that are like about my age, so I'm speaking from like my age range, my experience.
Right.
And for instance, like I'll come across those people and I'll realize like, hey, like you're in your 20s and you need to speak up. You need to be able to take a little bit of control. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, it's true.
Find that one thing. Find that outlet. It's an art form. It's a career you're chasing after.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, a physical sport
Right.
that you're participating in. It's dance. Whatever it is, pursue it. Have that be your coping mechanism. And then pursue your life. Because there's something I was told by someone I was working with. And they said, you need 3 things in your life. You need a job that's going to make you money.
Yeah.
You need a sport or a career or whatever it is, some kind of activity that's going to keep you physically fit. And you need something that's going to keep you creative.
Yeah.
And if you have these 3 things, you have the keys to a happy life.
Right, right.
Because you feel as though you have that purpose. And you're fulfilling that purpose.
Yeah, you're waking up with like, hey, I have something to contribute to this world.
Yep.
I have a purpose. I have
And you are that thing. You are that person that's pursuing it. You're not an aspiring actor. You are an actor. You're not an aspiring songwriter. You're a songwriter. You're that person that goes out there on open mics and puts out his music. Or goes out to the studio and records for hours and puts out their music there. Or you're that actor that goes to a stage and pours his heart out in front of strangers he doesn't even know. Or makes people laugh there and lifts the mood. You're that person that puts on that uniform, does your duty for society, keeps everyone safe, saves lives, puts out fires, rescues people. You know, you're that person. You're not trying to be that person. You are them.
Even if you don't have a physical uniform, put on your invisible uniform in the morning.
That's it.
And say, this is me, this is what I am, and I'm just going to do it. This is my purpose, and live with purpose. Yeah, it's absolutely, it's just that not everybody gets that, but it's important that you do.
I wanted to ask you about your acting method. How do you feel you prepare yourself to work
for a role?
What gets you ready?
First off, I always do this weird thing where like it's like 2 weeks before something, I go on some heavy like workout diet regimen. I like to feel clean in the inside, and I like to feel like, hey, I look good, I'm ready to present myself.
You want to be polished.
Yeah, it's like polish myself up for my, make sure I'm camera ready.
Yeah.
And it's good. There are certain things that you should do, like I know people that like, they cleanse themselves and do all these crazy things like, oh, I'm getting ready for my part, and unless you're playing like some kind of like Christian Bale role where you're gaining all this weight and you're doing all this. But most of my roles been like, hey, just Nino, like whatever I am, a soldier, or I'm this, and you just want to be physically confident because you don't want that to be the thing that messes up your performance. You want to be like, hey, I'm gonna give you what I got. So that's what I do. I try to like, all right, running is very meditational for me. I try to eat right, and then of course get the script and dig myself into it, because nobody likes to have their script on them when they're filming, and then just I feel that's you're getting paid for,
Yeah.
So be prepared. I like to memorize my lines, and usually after I memorize, I'm able to dig in deeper in what the character entails. I'm able to feel him a little more. And yeah, I just a lot of my stuff, I don't method act. I wouldn't say I'm a method actor. I do research, and I'll look at stuff and see how people of that profession or something would act and stuff like that. But I don't go like walking around and like saying, oh, I'm this person, and that's not my method. But I usually count on spare the moment. It's weird. When I'm about to do a scene, I don't like to expend that energy too soon, like in a rehearsal, whether I'm in my room and I didn't get on set yet, or I like to say, all right, I got these lines. I know what the character is, but I'm going to unleash that when I get there. And it comes to me. It's weird. That's my method. That's my, like I knew I had this scene in this film I did alone, and this emotional scene, and I withdrew from people for a little bit that day, and I was just, away, and like, people tried to talk to me. I'm like, I'm just doing my thing, and I'm just quiet, and I'm into it, and I'm not looking at anybody. I just get in this right then and there. I get into that feeling, and then I sit there and say, all right, let those cameras roll, and let's see. Sometimes you surprise yourself, and you say, wow, that was in the closet of goods that I have. And it just pops out. And so I like to be spontaneous sometimes. I like to, I know the character, I know my lines. I'm going to act, and I'm going to be a human being in front of the camera right now. And let's see what comes out, and usually that's the best stuff that comes out. So that's kind of my preparation, research, study your lines, and be physically ready to portray what you need to portray. Get in that mood, get in that zone, do something that day before you're shooting of like something that's going to get you there, and just dig deep. Because being a method actor and holding on to it too long, that might drive me kind of nuts. I don't know if in the future I might ever have to do that, if I might try that method for a certain role or something like that. But right now, it's good to just like say, all right, Nino, you're on. And once I get on the set, I just crossed over to another dimension, and like now I'm this person, and what do I feel? Let it out now. This is your time. And that's what I do.
Any upcoming projects that you can speak about legally?
So I was working on this detective web series, The Guilty Prince of Chinatown, and we're gonna finish that. It's on YouTube. It's pretty cool. It's we got a little fan base with it, and it was definitely a great experience and great way to hone my craft with a whole bunch of other excited individuals about acting and filmmaking. We're all bare bones doing it, but this director Hugh DeMario, he's awesome, and I'm eternally grateful for him choosing me for the project as the lead role, which is pretty cool. One of the leads, because I work with Stu Lee, who plays Detective Lee in the web series, and he's awesome. And I got a film festival for that next month. We got accepted to the Hoboken International Film Festival, and there's some pretty good heavy hitters over there, and it's a big festival, one of the biggest in the world, which is awesome. And just to be an official selection and have something that was so bare bones to be chosen, and like anything that comes here on is a surprise regarding that project. I know we had a lot of talent and a lot of stuff going on, but I'm just grateful to work on a project, and it got an official selection, so that was exciting. And Alone is coming out soon. I'm doing some ADR work to make the voice and the sound more clear, and so it's like the voiceover work, and that should be released in some festivals and for the people to see.
And I can't wait to see it. Like the final.
The completion of it.
Absolute completion. In its entirety, and to see you in drama, it's like you're in your natural habitat.
And I got more to come. This spring and summer is like really great auditioning season. There's a lot of stuff going on, so I'm excited to just audition and see what pops up, and just grateful for the whole experience, and hopefully I have more to talk about. Oh, and I'm doing a film called Infiltrated, Marvelly Pierre, and it's a SAG film. I'm very excited about this. I play a FBI agent, Marco Campisi. I don't have much else to say about it, but it's, you know, like a mafia FBI awesome thing coming out, and I was super like very very honored to be chosen for it. So the producers are, you know, trying to get everything going for that, and that should be a thing. I'm very confident that she's gonna launch this project, and it's gonna be huge. She has an amazing vision. I did a read through at the library in Manhattan, and near like 42nd Street, and yeah, it was incredible to sit with all these other actors, such high caliber actors that you know, I looked up their IMDb's and stuff, and I was like, wow. And I'm getting close to that, but it's still, I get a little like fangirlish when I see like these other guys. I'm like, wow, this guy's awesome. You know, I heard this read through and I was hearing all these voices.
First you think you're black, and now you think you're a girl.
Yeah.
And
There we go.
God, Nino, I think you're still stuck in Identity Crisis.
I told you I have an identity crisis. I told you. But I remember being in that room, listening to Marvelly's direction and listening to all these great actors and like these real like mafioso sounding guys. I was like, holy shit, this is I threw the shit bomb on. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't.
That's fine.
I was trying not to curse this whole thing. But how am I going to talk about infiltrated mafia film like without saying the word shit? Yeah, got more upcoming stuff, and hopefully get more auditions and just stay active and stay focused.
That's
my goals.
Is there any kind of thing or career that you could see yourself doing besides acting?
I am and will always be an actor. There's one thing that I enjoyed doing. Quick story. My teacher, my high school teacher, she had a surgery or something going on, and she asked me to come in and teach monologue finals, and I was teaching her students. Like she gave me permission to teach her class monologues, the finals that I had that I was talking about previously, and I was teaching the class, and they were looking at me like, oh wow, this is cool, New York actor, and like you know, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. I enjoyed it because the kids were getting it, and I knew I had something to tell them, because I remember what my mentality was in when I was sitting in their seats. And then when I got up and I was able to like, look guys, this is what's important. This is what you should look for. You need to learn to listen more instead of just speak your lines and think you know what your character means, or do more. We were doing these listening, repeating exercises, some Meisner technique, and just sitting across from each other and like making observations, and then when their monologue was coming up, creating a scene out of the monologue. So they can really feel it, and then take what they got from that and put it into, hey, I'm standing in front of you delivering a monologue. Yeah. So there was a lot, and they loved me. You know, they were calling me Mr. Nino and stuff, and it was so funny. But I ate it up, and I enjoyed, you know, enlightening like kids about stuff. I'm not like that professional that I could teach, but I definitely accumulated a lot of knowledge, and it was fun to pass that on to them.
I saw you working, and you're very interactive, very like critique, and that's the thing. You brought the realness. I think that in itself is a good method of acting, where you learn to correlate real life with a character on paper
and what they could really feel from it. And going back to what I felt with like, hey, like this is a real human experience, you know, let's not just say these lines. This is someone, like, you could save someone's life with this, so let's treat it as such. Let's really see what this character has to say and what you can get from it, so you're not wasting your time and you can get something from this. Do everything with purpose, you know. And like, I just was trying to help them all realize, hey, you're in this drama class, I see you all want to be actors. For the most part, most of them were like really into it. And this is your mentality that you should have, and let's dig into what's this really means from an artist perspective, not, hey, I want to be famous and like want to have like 10,000 or 10 million followers on Instagram. You know, so that was it.
Well, speaking of time, it's time to wrap up.
Nice.
Nino, thank you for being on the show.
Yes, thanks
And
for having me. My first interview ever.
It's so good to get insight from you and your career, and and pursue that further. I'm sure that you'll be back to like let us know what's new.
Update, yeah.
Yeah.
Have some
Where
good
can we
stuff.
find you?
Instagram, Nino Ascend, NinoAscend. And I'm also on Facebook. If you just put Nino Ascencio actor, you can see my actor page or whatever. And yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right, and your social security number is just all right.
0000.
All right, guys. All right, that's a wrap.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. All right, next time we'll see you.